And I'd like to start off this presentation by just congratulating you for actually taking the time to think about your career in regulatory affairs and actually wanting to learn more and find out more about how to progress. Because not everyone is as proactive in this. So by taking that first initiative to actually join this webinar and learn about regulatory affairs and also learn about how to progress in your career, you've already made a big step. Okay. So today, what you're going to learn is a lot of the secrets which we have regarding regulatory affairs. So what we're going to cover in today's presentation is we're going to go through exactly how much regulatory affairs professionals get paid. So regulatory affairs professionals, they get paid salaries of up to £150,000. And we're going to go into more detail in terms of what salary you can expect at the beginning of your career, what salary you can expect in the middle of your career, and then at the end of your career. So we'll have a full breakdown of this. We're also going to tell you exactly what regulatory affairs professionals do behind the scenes. So what are the main tasks that we do and why this is such a high demand career. And then we're going to look into actually your experience, your expertise, your knowledge, and whether that's relevant to start a career in regulatory affairs. Then we're going to go into a deep dive of actual regulatory affairs jobs and find out why your applications are getting ignored, people who have actually been able to cross the bridge to get interviews and actually move into regulatory affairs, how you can do the same as well. We're going to also look at people who've moved into regulatory affairs and how they made that transition. And then we're going to look at common mistakes that people make and how to avoid them. And then at the end, we're going to also go through any careers coaching or personalized advice that you need. So this presentation is very interactive. So if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. This is a really good opportunity for you to get regulatory affairs, careers advice. And if there's any personal questions you want to ask, you can always send them to our email address, contact@entrytoregulatory.com, or you can message us on WhatsApp at this phone number. So Lorraine will just share the details on the chat, as well as information about our training that we provide. So I would just like to start with just to understand your background and journey. So what is your background? What is your education? What is your employment history? Let me know in the chat and I will tailor this webinar to exactly, your skills and expertise and how it's relevant to you. So if you can let me know in the chat what your education and employment history is, that will allow me to tailor my advice to your experience and your background. So someone said here, we are regulatory project manager. Again, somebody else is saying that they're also a manager as well. They're R&D scientist. Community pharmacist. Science graduate in chemistry, undergraduate in biomedical science, regulatory associate, clinical pharmacist, R&D scientist, manager. For the one who said manager, if you just talk about which area that's in. Okay, so everyone here, they have very relevant degrees and qualifications. And later on in the presentation, I will show you exactly how to use your skills from your knowledge and your experience to actually move into regulatory affairs roles. So if you can now tell me exactly why did you join this webinar? Are you feeling that your current role, you're feeling unfulfilled? Are you feeling underpaid? Are you just curious about regulatory affairs? Are you inspired by my story or the story of others? Do you feel overworked and demotivated? What's the reason for you joining this webinar and trying to learn about regulatory affairs? So I just put a few reasons here, which you can let me know in the chat. Why did you join this webinar? And I will make sure we cover this within the presentation. So we've got people saying that, look, we're looking for new opportunities. Somebody says they're unfulfilled in the current role and they really want to change and look for other opportunities with a higher salary. Others, they want to move to regulatory. Someone's looking for work-life balance. Someone's underpaid, sorry, and they've got lack of progression. Someone's trying to move from academia and industry. So we have had people move from academia into regulatory affairs who have done our training program. Better work-life balance, great. So a lot of very interesting reasons why people actually want to move, why they joined this webinar. Okay. Well, here's the good news. The good news is that you're in the right place. So for those of you who said that you want work-life balance, regulatory affairs provides you with a good work-life balance. For those of you who want a higher salary, there's a clear career progression, which we'll go into more detail about the salary shortly. Some of you felt underpaid, lack of progression. So with regulatory affairs, there's a clear career pathway. So it's not that you're stuck in one position, you constantly are going up the career ladder. Others are looking for let's see, additional opportunities. Yeah, there's very opportunities to travel internationally. There's opportunities to be your own boss. There's opportunities to get various other benefits. So regulatory affairs is a very rewarding profession. And as you can see, you can work from home, you can get high salaries, high career progression, and also it keeps you interested and benefits patients worldwide. So it's definitely something that's not only interesting, but has a good work-life balance, something that will benefit patients across the globe, something that gives flexible hours, so you can work part-time as well, and also allows you to travel across the world. So I've traveled across the world during my career due to various different projects that I was working on. Now, in terms of the salary, I promised that I would break it down for you. So as you can see with the regulatory affairs salaries, it starts off with, for the UK, it starts off with £50,000. And then as you gain more experience, it goes to £80,000 for manager. And then director, it goes past £100,000. And then executive is £150,000. So as you progress in your career in regulatory affairs, you start off with a career of up to £50,000, and then you can go all the way up into £150,000 plus. But one thing I didn't mention in the slide is actually these salaries are for permanent employees. So that's if you're working for companies. But in reality, if you do consulting or contract work, you can get salaries even higher than £150,000. So there's a huge opportunity here for career progression. And the best thing is, all you need is a life science degree, and all you need is to demonstrate your capability for regulatory affairs role. And that's exactly what we will show you in the next couple of slides, is how to bridge yourself with regulatory affairs so that you can benefit from a career that rewards you both financially and also gives you good work-life balance. So this slide just emphasizes the main features of working in regulatory affairs, the fact that it's interesting, you make a difference, flexible working, and so on. So I've been able to benefit personally from all of these areas, and also other people who work in regulatory affairs have been able to benefit from these too. But one of the questions I get asked a lot is, firstly, how did I move into regulatory affairs? And also, why am I here today to talk to you? So I'll answer the first question in terms of how I moved into regulatory affairs. So I've actually worked in regulatory affairs for over a decade, and I've worked for the largest pharmaceutical companies across the globe, as well as health authorities. But I didn't start like this. I started just like you. I started as somebody with a life science qualification, who had an interest in regulatory affairs, who wanted to progress in their career, who was unsatisfied in my current role, and was looking for something different. As you can see here, I graduated from UCL in London, UK, with a master's in pharmacy. And in those days, there was no information about regulatory affairs or work in the pharmaceutical industry. So I progressed normally into a community pharmacy role. When I worked in community pharmacy, I worked for various different pharmacy chains, and I really enjoyed that interaction with the patients and helping other people. But one thing was missing was the fact that after a couple of months working as a locum, I realized that, is this it? Am I going to be doing the same thing basically for the next 10 years, for example? So I did feel under challenged in working as a local pharmacist. And I also felt that there was no clear career progression. I felt that you're staying in the same position throughout the career. There's nothing that I'm actually working towards. And also the work-life balance wasn't great because I was going to many different stores. So then I realized actually I need to look at a role where I can actually progress in my career, which will actually keep me interested. And I started researching, and that's where I found MHRA, or regulatory affairs, basically. So when I looked at regulatory affairs, I realized that actually this covers the topics in my degree, which I really enjoyed, which was pharmaceutical analysis, drug design, drug development, medicinal chemistry, and so on. And I really enjoyed those topics, and I felt like, this is a career where I can not only use that knowledge, but I can also progress in that career too. So I started applying for jobs. Now I applied for 80 applications and tailored each one. And eventually I was able to get a job with the MHRA. So this is me in the MHRA promo campaign many years ago. As you can see, advertising the MHRA. And one of the biggest things that I thought of was actually, can there be an easier way? Like, why do they say that you need experience without giving you that experience first? Why can't people give you that first chance and that first step to move into a job? Why is it so hard? Yeah. And that's what I'm going to cover in this training, is actually where I solve this problem and help people who are in the same boat that I was in move into regulatory affairs. So here I moved into the MHRA, and you can see I say that the benefit of working for MHRA was to make a significant positive impact to the public health and lives of patients who depend on medicines. So I moved into the MHRA, and that was my first regulatory affairs role. And then after that, you could see I had a very colourful career. I worked for very large pharmaceutical companies across the globe, GSK, MSD, Biogen, Bayer, and many others. And then after this, I set up my own consultancy, Advanced Regulatory Consulting, where I provide regulatory affairs consulting services to the pharmaceutical industry, as well as entry to regulatory, where I provide regulatory affairs training. So all of this would have not been possible if I didn't move into regulatory affairs. And could there have been an easier way to move into regulatory affairs? And the answer is yes, there could have been. The biggest issue I faced was the point regarding that you don't have any work experience and you don't have knowledge of regulatory affairs. So how could you possibly do the job? Now, if I was not given this chance in the MHRA, I would never have gone to this stage where I'm now here training you in this webinar. You would have not seen me here. I would have been in a completely different pathway. So the fact that I was able to do this demonstrates how people just like you, who may not have experience in regulatory affairs, could actually be really great regulatory professionals if they're just given that chance. Sorry. So I've also been awarded Associate Honorary Professor at UCL, in addition to my other titles. And you can follow me on LinkedIn for regulatory affairs updates and insights. And, I post regularly different topics about regulatory affairs. Okay, so before we can understand how you can move into regulatory affairs, what you need to know is exactly what is regulatory affairs, okay? But to understand what regulatory affairs is, you need to understand where you're working towards, because everyone can say, I want to move into regulatory, but you need to know what regulatory affairs actually is before you can understand how to get them. So what regulatory affairs is a profession responsible for the licensing and compliance of medicines to government regulatory standards through submissions to agencies that demonstrate the quality, safety, and efficacy of a medicine. So what this means is before any medicine can go into the market in any country across the globe, the marketing authorization holder, they have to demonstrate that that medicine has good quality, it's safe, and it actually works. To do this, they create regulatory affairs submission packages according to the regulatory requirements. And that's the main aim of regulatory professionals, is we create these regulatory submissions, we create the regulatory strategies, and we liaise with the health authorities and manage various different projects. This is the essence of the role. And to do this, we have to merge the science, okay, with the regulatory requirements. And this is exactly the aspect that really kept me glued to regulatory affairs for over a decade, and which keeps me interested still in regulatory affairs, is that creative thinking where you're having to look at the science behind the medicine and the regulatory requirements. Now, all of this is very theoretical until you actually understand, real life scenarios on regulatory affairs, real submissions that we work on. So I'll give you the opportunity to choose from this list any of these examples from my career, which you'd like me to just talk a little bit more about in terms of what I did as a regulatory professional. So you could say the first bullet point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the one with the most votes, I will talk about that. So you can write down in the chat, which one would you like me to talk about? And I will discuss it further. Post-approval, someone said, number 6. It's very interesting because every time I do this, there's always a different popular one. It's quite interesting. Regulatory strategy of the IMPDs, number 6. Number 2, we got 2 votes on number 2. Anyone else? Almost 6. 6. Oh yeah, this was an exciting one as well. Yeah. 2 and 6. Okay. But 2 is winning. Someone said the topic with the most demand right now. Oh, that's a good one. Dare I say all? Oh, yes. Well, I'll tell you what, at the end of the presentation, I will go through the other ones that I don't discuss. Okay, so 2 and 6 seem popular, with 2 being the most votes. Okay, so number 2 is this one about the IMPD, and yes, that was quite exciting actually. And number 6 was again really exciting and crazy project. That is also crazy, but yeah, this was a bit of a project that was. So you know what is very interesting that you pointed out why you selected these ones, because they're actually 2 contrasts of regulatory affairs. Let me explain. With the first one, the regulatory strategy for the IMPD submissions, they were approved without any agency question. For this one, I made the whole plan, the regulatory strategy, and everything was planned out, and then we did the submission and the clinical trial could continue. With number 6, this was a different case. What happened is the company, they made changes to their manufacturing process. They didn't tell the regulatory department, and batches that had the changes were released onto European market with the affected changes, which was actually illegal and a non-compliance issue. So the first one was careful planning and regulatory strategy. The second one, they had no regulatory strategy or careful planning. And I was responsible for basically firefighting this issue and preventing a huge supply chain or huge stockout issue in Europe and basically the rest of the world, saving the company more than $2 million for Europe. Now, the contrast is this: careful planning means you can have more success. So for this particular submission, I was working on different biological products and also gene therapy products, where I was responsible for ensuring the continuity of the clinical trials through allowing their clinical studies to have certain changes made. So they get their CTA approved, clinical trial authorization, and then, okay, now we need to extend the shelf life because our, best before date is about to run out. Our stock's going to be out of date. So we need to increase the shelf life so we can still use the stock, or we need to change the formulation because patients are getting these weird immunological reactions. So these kind of issues happen in the clinical trial. And as regulatory professionals, we work through these. So we'll say, okay, this is the issue that's happened. And we'll actually translate it into how, again, justifying the changes. So for example, with the shelf life, we will justify the increase in shelf life based on the stability data, or with the change in formulation, we'll justify it based on the safety and the comparability with the previous formulation. So for this one, I was able to prepare all of these amendments and create the strategy for all of them, anticipate any agency questions through including those justifications in the submission, and they were approved without agency question, which is not a normal thing in regulatory. In regulatory, usually they expect that the health authority will ask questions, but I'm well known in the industry for actually gaining approvals without any health authority questions because I've worked for the MHRA and I know how they think. And then this one was, like I mentioned, where they implemented the changes. The batch was released onto the market with the affected changes. And now the health authority was about to say, right, you can't supply this medicine. So I had to justify to the health authority why we should keep those batches on the market. And this involved a quality justification, safety and efficacy justification. Yeah. And we was working with a team as well, because obviously this is it's a huge risk to the company, $2 million here. And created the whole variation package. Within 10 days, it was approved and there was no question, which is basically the record I set for my variation, because as those of you working in regulatory know, the minimum approval timeline is within 30 days. So the fact that this type 1B grouping was approved in 10 days is a record. So hopefully that gives you insight of regulatory affairs. One is more of a planned, systematic approach, and the other one is more like exciting and meetings and, different things, basically. Okay, so as you can see, there's no typical day in regulatory, which is why I'm still doing it, why I enjoy it. Every day is different. There's always something happening. You're getting team meetings with company updates, you're getting project meetings with the science, the medicine, and how it works. You're leading the regulatory submissions, you're managing teams, you're speaking to health authorities, you're learning the new regulatory requirements, and resolving those urgent requests that always seem to pop up in your email. So it's a very exciting role indeed. Now is the opportunity for me to show you how you have actually got these skills, or the relevant skills for a job in regulatory affairs. So what I would like you to do, if you can, so I think some of you put in the chat actually previously your experience. Yep, so actually I will just go with what you put in the chat before in terms of your profession. And I will show you actually how you have the skills for regulatory affairs. So just bear with me. I'm just going to open the window because in the UK, it's very, very hot. Right, okay. So let's go through some of the examples. So you can put some, if you haven't put your experience in the chat, you can put your experience. Let's have a look. Right, so we've got clinical pharmacist, a community pharmacist, another clinical pharmacist. Okay, so we've got a few pharmacists here, which is great. Welcome, pharmacists. I'm always happy to see fellow pharmacists. So as a pharmacist, you're going to have already innate skills. Firstly, attention to detail, because you are clinically checking, 500 prescriptions a day, or I'm not sure how many you're checking a day, and you're getting 0 errors. Okay, so that's 100% accuracy rating. That gives you the skills to actually use when you're working on regulatory submissions and dossiers. For example, checking stability data, checking compliance with regulatory requirements, and all the fine detail required in regulatory affairs. So this is a very critical skill, and not everyone actually has this. So as a pharmacist, this is your superpower. Other thing as a pharmacist is your technical expertise, because you actually have the knowledge of all of the therapeutic areas. So your therapeutic knowledge is very comprehensive. You know all about diabetes, oncology, and all these areas. So you know about the areas where medicines are being developed. So you're not starting from zero every time you're getting a different project to work on. Those are 2 examples of skills for regulatory. We then have some science graduates, some in life science, some in chemistry, different science graduates. So for you, the main thing again would be the technical expertise, because a lot of people, for example, in chemistry, in biological sciences, they are very suitable for regulatory roles. I've had so many colleagues in chemistry, chemistry degrees and biotech. But it's basically that deep understanding of the CMC aspects of or module 3 of the dossier. So if you've got a chemistry degree, you'll understand how drug substance is manufactured. Okay, this is all about the synthetic pathways. Okay, starting materials, synthetic pathways, raw materials, the reagents, the impurities. This is all of the information that goes into the regulatory filing. So you've already got a heads up and that you understand this in detail. And with biotech, it's a similar thing, but for biological products. So, for example, the master cell bank, characterization, potency studies, and so on. All this knowledge you have, it goes straight into that dossier. So this is how your skills can be relevant to regulatory affairs. And for those who have more project management experience, again, there you go, project management, because we are working on multiple regulatory submissions at the same time. Some of them, they are quick submissions like variations. Others are huge, like marketing authorization applications. So there's all different timelines, and you have to really manage your time. Actually, when I worked for the MHRA, I created my own spreadsheet where I was managing all of these different projects simultaneously. For somebody who put research nurse, I would liken your skills to the pharmacy example, yeah, because it's more the understanding of the therapeutic areas. Okay, good. So you all have the skills to move to regulatory affairs, but what's stopping you from moving into regulatory affairs? Right, let's find out. As you can see, so why are you not getting hired? So this is a job description for an entry-level regulatory role, right? So all of you have the life science degree. Some of you might have a master's as well. That's an extra benefit, but it's not mandatory. Some of you may have experience in the pharmaceutical industry, which is again very beneficial. And you all have various different skills, which is required in regulatory, as we just discussed. And you all can comply with the company culture. You can demonstrate examples in your career. So what's the issue? What's the gap that you're having? As you can see, this is the issue right here. So in yellow, what they are requiring is experience in pharma, knowledge of the filings, the various submission types, experience with the small molecules, quality changes, regulatory legislation and regulations. So what this means is, in addition to having the right skills, they want you to have the experience, the regulatory affairs experience, and they want you to have the regulatory affairs knowledge, experience and knowledge. So even though you have the right skills for regulatory affairs, you are stuck in a position because you do not have the regulatory affairs knowledge or the experience. And this is exactly where I was stuck when I was trying to move into regulatory, and this is exactly where we can help you. Now, today I had a phone call with somebody, and firstly what I want to say is, you see all these areas highlighted in yellow? We give you experience in all of these. So we cover all of this in our training. We give you experience on a variation application, which has quality changes. We give you clinical trial authoring experience. We give you working with different submission types in the EU, US, and UK. We give you 50+ hours of regulatory knowledge covering the full life cycle of a medicine. And we also give you the ECTD experience. So we give you experience working on various different regulatory forms which are being used, as well as authoring the ECTD sections too. Now, so now we understand that the gap here is your experience and your knowledge. Now, I'm going to show you this examples. Oh, sorry. Where is it? Oh, it's there. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so this here is a real case from today. So I'm giving you fresh news, basically, from literally just before we had this call. As you can see here, this is a interview prep call I had with somebody, and basically they were applying for a job, and in the job description it said this is what you need. Yeah. Okay, so all of these you can see soft skills and various PC skills and all of these things. Now, in the same job description, which they got an interview for now, they said this: you need UK, Irish, and European regulation experience, CMC experience, site transfers, type 1 variation, type 2. Now, if they didn't do the training, they would not be able to apply for this job. They definitely would not have an interview. Yeah, because this is something which the company was looking for. But this person, basically, they had no regulatory affairs experience before they did the training. And after doing the training and getting the 3 months regulatory affairs experience, 50+ hours of knowledge, and also I give them the job search support and mentoring, they were able to apply for this job and actually get an interview for this job as well. And what I said to them was that I said, look, you see here in the job description, it says preferably minimum 2 years. I wrote here, didn't matter. That's what I wrote. I wrote, didn't matter. You know why I wrote didn't matter? Because they got the interview, even though this is what I said on the job description. It said 2 years, but they still got the job because you see this bit here, CMC experience, type 1 variations, groupings, manufacturer changes, and all of these changes. I gave them experience in all of these areas. And I gave them experience and knowledge in all of these areas here. So I gave them everything they need. So it didn't matter that they didn't have 2 years experience. We still got the interview. What mattered was that they covered the gap with their knowledge and with their experience. So I was telling them in the call, I said, oh, you know what, you really proved what I was saying, because, you know, with this job description. Now, let me show you something as well, in terms of how to get the experience and the knowledge, right? But before I show you, I just want to emphasize one more time how important that experience is. So this individual, I'll focus on the individual, then I'll go into the study. Before they did the training, they were applying for hundreds of jobs and they were getting 0 interviews. So they were here, no experience, 0.25% successful. But once they did the training and I gave them the experience, so they're here at the top, they ended up on, and I asked her, how many jobs have you applied for before you got this interview? And she was like, I applied for 10 jobs. And I said, you know what, you filled exactly the right figure for my study that I did. So she only had to apply for 10 jobs, she ended up getting interviewed. Okay, so that's the difference between getting interviewed, is to fill in the gap. Because in this study you can see here, I actually conducted a study. So I opened up an entry-level regulatory position and there were 400 applicants for this position. I then categorized each of them based on their experience and knowledge background. And the ones with regulatory affairs experience, they were here at the top. Then the people who did a course, then the people with industry experience, and then the people with no regulatory or pharma experience. So that's how I categorized the individuals. Now, one thing you have to think about is this. If you are the hiring manager and you've been asked, okay, you need to choose 5 people now for this interview, which group of individuals would you choose to invite for interview? The regulatory experience, the regulatory course, the pharma industry experience, or no regulatory or pharma experience? Let me know in the chat. Anybody like to guess? Regulatory experience, someone says? Yes, that's it, exactly what it is. It's the regulatory experience. So these 40 people, yes, everyone's saying regulatory experience. These 40 people, they're going to be invited for the interview. And the reason they're going to be invited for the interview is because they can hit the ground running. They've got the experience with the submissions, so they just join the company and they can literally start working. Yeah, there's no issue about learning everything from scratch and shadowing. They can hit the ground running, and that's what recruiters want. Because the reality is this, when you see these job applications, companies, they care about what the individual will bring to the organization. Yeah, so you have to always think, what can you bring to this company? Now, these people, they got experience, so they can bring that to the company. So even though it's an entry-level job role, people with experience, they're still applying, which means everybody else has literally got a very little chance. So without experience, you've got a 0.25% chance, which is 400 regulatory applications. And with experience, you've got a 10% success rate, which is only 10 job applications. So just by getting that experience and knowledge, you're putting yourself right at the top of this pyramid. So the key thing here is not to keep applying for jobs, it's to change your profile so that you are an attractive candidate for the employer to hire you. And one thing I'd like you to just take away is, where do you fit in this pyramid? Okay, where do you fit in this pyramid? And how will you change your position? How will you go up this pyramid? What will you do? Okay, so the good news is this. I'm not going to say, okay, this is a very dire situation. There's a very good news for you, and I'm going to show you some real examples afterwards. The good news is that I give you 3 months of the regulatory affairs experience. So the same experience that I showed you for the person who had an interview and they were asking me to help with the interview, that's exactly what I can give you. Yeah, this experience will cover clinical trials authoring, marketing authorization application, electronic submissions, ECTD, variations and post-approval changes, and regulatory strategy. And this experience is actually recognized by health authorities, large pharmaceutical companies, biotechs, generics, consultancies, NHS, and more. And the reason why I'm so confident about telling you that this experience is recognized is because of this. As you can see here, these are not all, but some of our successful students. So everyone you can see on this slide, they've all moved into regulatory affairs. Okay, they all started just like you, with no regulatory affairs experience. They all come from different backgrounds. Some of them, they were pharmacists. Some of them, so Liviana, for example, she was an academic PhD postdoc. We had pharmacists like here, Haravandan. We had a senior scientist like Fahad. We had people in pharma like Noor. We've had Federica was a postdoc. We've had another pharmacist here. We had and Adibakola, she had regulatory experience, but in African markets. So she wanted to get that experience in UK and Europe because she relocated. So we have people across the board who joined the course, and they all did the same thing, which is available for you. They all took our training, got the experience, got the knowledge, and the job search mentoring support. And you can see they moved into all of these different companies. The GSK, large companies, large pharma, health authorities, NHS, medical device companies, cosmetic companies, the whole range, which was really good. Actually, I tried to add more pictures onto this slide from other students, but it got too busy. So I stopped here. This is the limit I can fit in the slide. Now, this is just to emphasize where they came from, where did they start, and where did they end. So, as you can see, they moved into regulatory affairs within 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I didn't put the Federica in there. 2 weeks to 9 months of starting our training course. And Lorraine, you can put their LinkedIn links there as well, the ones that you have for them. Just Lorraine would put in the chat their LinkedIn, and you can see the real people just like you. But yeah, Liviana, for example, postdoc researcher, no regulatory experience. She moved into regulatory within 7 months after doing her training. You've got pharmacy dispenser moves in within 1 month. We've got senior scientists within 1 month. You've got also, there's a few I haven't put in here, but there's Jazz as well. If you got the link for Jazz, because there's loads of clinical pharmacists on this call, that'd be great. So Jazz moved in within 4 months. Yeah, and she was a hospital pharmacist. She moved into regulatory affairs. What else? People, do we have sustaining according to your experience? Yes, we have scientists, pharmacists, we have the academics. They all was able to move into regulatory affairs after doing this training, and they all had very good feedback. And Lorraine is just putting the links for their LinkedIn in there. So she got 2 links in there. One is Prabjot from Quality, and one is Federica, who made the world record because she joined the course and moved into regulatory within 2 weeks of starting. So only 2 weeks after starting, she says, Rob, I've got a job in offer in regulatory. And I was like, how did you do that? So as you can see, it's a very good success rate. So this is where we take you from here, where you have limited knowledge in regulatory, all the way to getting all the work experience, the skills. We review your CV, we do mock interviews, we give you job search mentoring support. And when you finish, we still keep in contact with you. So if you need further training or just general job advice, careers advice, we're still available there to support you. So we take you from 0 all the way to moving into regulatory and beyond. So just to highlight exactly what we are giving you here, we're giving you 3 months of regulatory affairs work experience. We're giving you 50+ hours of regulatory affairs knowledge. There's no other training that you're going to see that gives you this 3 months of regulatory experience, 50 hours of knowledge. You're not going to find it. If you find it, I'll give you such a big discount on the course, you wouldn't even imagine how big the discount is, because you're not going to find it. Then obviously you've got myself as the tutor. I have over 10 years of experience in regulatory. I've worked for the health authorities, I've worked for large pharma, so I know exactly what regulators want, and I know what the large companies provide, and also how they interview their candidates. You're also going to get a CV review, mock interview, industry recognized certificate. You're going to get a work reference as well, and you're going to get support basically after you finish the course all the way up until you get a job. So you're going to get consistent job search support, so you won't be left in the dark. Now, the course is remote and part-time, so we make it so that it fits around your work and study, so you don't have to stop what you're doing and drop everything. You can continue exactly what you're doing, and you could just spend 6 hours a week on this and do it all online and get live support from me as well. And we have people who have recent mothers. We have people who are working in labs, in academia. We have people who just been made redundant. We have a whole range of individuals join these courses, and we optimize it so that everyone can really take advantage of the information they're learning and applying. A lot of you may have seen other, general courses and think, right, so why this one? The reason why is because, like I said, we give you the 3 months of work experience, the job search, mentoring and resources until you get a job, and 50 hours of learning. So we don't teach you and go away. We teach you and we stay with you. We stay with you until you get the job. Every bi-weekly, I have the job search calls. I invite everyone in there who wants any advice, and we talk about their applications, what they're struggling with, how we can help them. So we don't leave it. This is something that's continuous. You also get this exclusive professional community as well, where you can meet other people, and a lot of people have made really good friendships here as well. So it's a lot of things that we're offering, and we're doing it at a very reasonable price. Lorraine, she's put the course brochure on the chat because I know some of you want to know exactly what you're going to learn and the full details. The full details are there. The course brochure, they're slightly old. It's showing 2 months experience. We're giving you 3, but otherwise it's got a lot of the information in there. You can download it and save it, the course brochure. Okay, so for those of you who want global experience, this is also something that we can offer you as well. So if you're based in any of these countries here, such as Canada, Middle East, Australia, New Zealand, any of these countries, we got this global course where we will teach you specifically for the country that you're based in. And all you have to do is email contact@entry2regulatory.com. Okay, and just say interested in the global course. Yeah, for the tailored one. This one we're going to release later on this year. So we'll add you onto the wait list. China's available, yeah, China as well. China, yeah, Asia markets. China's a very big market. Yeah, yes, yeah, they're very different. China's very, very different. And so is Japan as well. So these are huge markets, and a lot of the companies like GSK, they used to do China as wave 2. But when I was working for GSK, they put these countries as wave 1, and I was very surprised actually. But it's, yeah, there's a lot of the large pharma, they're prioritizing China and Japan basically, as well as Singapore and so on. After the course finishes, if you purchase the course book, then you will have lifetime access. Oh God. So yeah, here we go. So if you get the course book, then you will have lifetime access because you'll have this lovely book, and I'll show you a picture of it at the end, which you can make all your notes in, and you basically keep it for as long as you want. If you just do online, then it's 3 months for only the online, but for lifetime, just buy the book. Basically. You get that as well. Okay, so Kenya, we didn't include Kenya yet. No, Kenya, it's not included just yet. If we get more demand, we'll add in the Kenya, but we put South Africa in there. Okay, so who is this course for? Like I said, all of you here, you all mentioned what your experience is, and it's relevant to all of you. Now, depending on your experience and your background, we'll help you with it, the area which is relevant to your background. So if you've just recently graduated, we're going to help you move into graduate programs. If you've got experience in clinical pharmacy or a scientific field or academia, then we're going to help you move into the entry-level roles. If your experience is in pharma or you've got significant experience in another area, we can even move you into manager-level roles, okay? So it all depends on your experience and your background. And you know, when I have my job search bi-weekly calls, I talk to everyone individually and I say, right, this is the types of jobs that you need to look for, okay? Don't focus on these types of jobs. So I tailor it exactly to your experience and what's required. And if you've got regulatory experience, you can still benefit. We've had people in the course with 10 years experience in regulatory do this training and say that this was absolutely amazing. Because basically we cover the full breadth and depth of regulatory affairs. We cover the full life cycle, and we cover the huge global markets, which is Europe, US. And obviously I'm going to cover the UK because we're based in the UK. So we cover all of these major markets, which all regulatory submissions are based on. So all regulatory submissions across the world, they will take the European and the US submission and they will make some updates, okay? So this is why this is very important knowledge. So what should you do now? You know, what's the worst case? What's the best case? You know, what should you do? Now, either you can just continue with what you're doing, keep applying and leave everything and just, that's it, and your situation will stay the same. Or you can take this training and you'll have 2 outcomes. So the best case is that you'll be able to move into regulatory affairs within 2 weeks to 9 months from starting this course. That's the best case. The worst case, if you do this training, is you're going to have a work reference, you're going to have a certificate, you're going to have 50 plus hours of regulatory knowledge. So you're going to really understand regulatory affairs, and you're going to have 3 months of regulatory work experience in your CV. which will help you for any pharma job, not just regulatory. Then you will have continuous job search support and mentoring. So in the worst case, you're actually better off than what you are now. Even if you was in the worst case scenario and actually couldn't find a regulated job, you're still better off than what you are now. The job search mentoring, there's no time limit. It's only up till when you get a job. So basically, you know, it could be years, even if we haven't had anyone for years. Normally people move into regulatory, but it's based, there's no time limit. Yeah, the support is until you get the job. So we don't want to put any time limit on anything. So that's available for you. And even after regulatory, you know, you move to regulatory, we'll still be there to help and advise you. Just as a discretionary, I want my students to succeed, and I want them to be in good positions in regulatory affairs. Okay, so some of you might ask, okay, great. So what's the, you know, how is this course going to be taught? You know, what's the commitment for this? The commitment is 6 hours a week. So that could be, for example, 1 hour Monday to Saturday, 1.5 hours, you know, for 3 days a week, 3 hours Saturday, Sunday. So you can decide when you want to do it, whether you want to do it on your lunch breaks, whether you want to do it on the weekend, whether you want to do it when the kids are sleeping, whatever it is, that's fine. As long as you complete 6 hours a week, it's fine. It's all online, so you can just log in there and basically access all the material and everything. And you can ask questions, and I will reply as well in the group chat. And we also will have the Q&A sessions as well to answer questions. So the first month, we're going to focus on lectures, okay? We're going to give you all the knowledge of regulatory affairs, okay? This is going to be the bedrock of your experience, is to gain that knowledge, fundamental knowledge of regulatory affairs. In the second and third month, we're going to give you all the work experience, which we described, okay? INDs, MAAs, CT, variations, regulatory strategy, and so on. We're also going to help you update your CV. So we're not just going to say, okay, give me your CV, I'll review it. We're going to teach you how to write a regulatory CV from zero. Yeah, so I give them so much information. Basically, one of the students called me and she just said, I can't believe how much information you're giving us to help us with our careers and the CV and everything. And I said, basically, that's the point, is to help you move into regulatory, not just to give you general information, but to actually help you move. So we do all of that. And then after month 3, this is where your full job search mentoring kicks in. You get the bi-weekly calls, get access to the full career support resources, which we've updated recently, and mock interviews as well. So like I said, today I did a mock interview with someone and helped them with the call. And once you finish the training, if you turn around and say, you know what, I want to get 2 months extra experience in regulatory, I want to get 12 months extra experience in regulatory, this is also something we can provide you with an additional charge. Or we can give you more types of submissions to work on, more experience, so that you are continuously learning and gaining experience. There's no gap in your CV. This is the what we give. And Lorraine, you could put the link to the website as well. Yeah, so I'll just paste it in there. Sorry, Lorraine. Just yeah. So the link on the chat you can see there, which gives you all of the details about the training. Now, what will you learn? I mean, there's so much information that basically I just put a few points here, but everything here you will learn and understand exactly what they are in the detail. This one is a whole lecture, 1 hour on that topic, for example. All right, so each of these are big topics, okay? So you will learn quite a lot, and the course brochure, if you could put the course brochure on the chat, Lorraine, that'd be great. So, because I know some people like to read like everything, what they're going to learn, that will all be in the course brochure for detail. So as you can see, we got very good feedback, rating 4.6. We've had hundreds of people do this training, okay? So it's not something new. This is well done, well tested. Loads of people have moved into regulatory. Loads of people have done this. We're rating it highly. And you can see their feedback. They're very positive, excellent course, professionally presented, engaging. these are all of the words that we use. Okay, so this is the gift that I want to give you for staying in this webinar and learning all about regulatory affairs. I'm giving you this exclusive voucher, which gives you £200 off the course. So if Lorraine, you put the voucher and the enrollment link on the chat, and basically it gives you £200 off. You get to pay in 3 installments, or you get to pay in 5 installments. So you don't even have to pay it all in one go. You can just split it up. We also have a 6-month installment option available. If you want to enroll now, the link is just there where it says view prices and sign up. That's where you can enroll directly on there. But yeah, so you're getting you can pay in 3 installments, you can pay in 5. We've now got a 6 installment option as well. So we try to make it as easy as possible for everyone. And the £200 off is only valid by the end of Sunday. Yeah, so after Sunday, then that discount option is finished. So if you really want to get that 3 months of experience, 50+ hours of learning, and the job search mentoring until you get a job, then this is definitely something worth taking, because you have the option right now to just, finish this webinar and get on with your daily life, or actually take that first step in regulatory affairs. Actually do something which will guarantee that you get that experience in regulatory affairs, and then get all the support you need to help you move into regulatory affairs. So it's literally, the ball is basically in your court, as they say, so it's your decision in terms of what you want to do. In terms of the course runs, so it runs at different times. So this cohort we have is June, and then we got another cohort is in July. So yeah. Is there a voucher for paying? So if you want to pay in 1 installment, the voucher has already been applied. So you can just go ahead and choose 1 installment. You can see it, you will see on the website, it's already got the discount applied on it compared to the other ones. So the 1 installment, the discount's already there. Those of you. After July, we're gonna have 1 in September. Yes, yeah, September as well. But my advice is very simple. What you have to do is think about the pharmaceutical industry, what's the situation in the job market, and when you want to actually be ready to start applying for jobs, okay? Now, the summer is a great time to start, because right now, say you start in, next one is July, August, September. Now, the job market in September and October in regulatory affairs is extremely busy. It's so many jobs. So if you want, the smart move is to learn everything so these months is actually quiet in regulatory for jobs. June, everyone's going on holiday and everything. So June, July, and August is going to be quiet. September, October, the market's going to pick up dramatically. So if you really want to take advantage of that surge in regulatory roles, I would definitely recommend doing the course sooner in the summer, so that when the market gets busy in September and October, you're ready to go, and you can it's easier for you to get into a role. And someone says the success rate after people doing the course. So we didn't create the success rate yet, because we basically have to chase everyone up. And, I help people move into regulatory, and not everyone tells me that they moved into regulatory, Last week, I was just browsing in LinkedIn, and I seen a few people moved into regulatory, but I didn't even know that they made the move. So we still have to contact people, basically. But in terms of the statistics that we do know, it's that the ones that we do speak to, they move into regulatory between 2 weeks to 9 months. And on average, 4 months is the average. Right, 4 months is the average time it takes. But you could say within 2 weeks to 9 months of starting. For those who are actively applying. If you're actively applying, then that will be applicable. If you're not applying and you're just doing nothing, then obviously nothing will happen. You have to obviously start applying. But you can say that we give you everything you need. We give you everything you need to get into regulatory. And, oh yeah, the promo code for webinar 3, I'll just... yeah, the promo code is webinar 3. Yeah, that's right. And the promo code webinar 3, that goes for the 3 installment option, for the pay in 3 option. So you choose the Pay in 3 option, check the webinar 3, and then you're good for that basically. So what I was saying is like we help people from start to finish. Yeah, and this is something where it's hundreds of people have already benefited from this. And one other thing I forgot to mention is this training material is so in-depth and comprehensive that I've actually used it to train health authorities. So I've actually taken material from this training and I've actually trained health authorities, yeah, with this training material. So it's definitely worth doing. Let me see if we can. Let me see if I can get something. If somebody, I don't know if I can find anything. I was going to try and find a LinkedIn health authority like messaging about the training they received, but it's just have to quick search basically. Do you advise people taking the course to actively apply when they are still in the course, or do you recommend they finish? Very good question. That's a very good question. Yes, so what I did was I did the course in such a way that you can do either or. So it's all up to you. Yeah. So what I do is this. In month 2, you're going to get your CV ready to go. Now, for those of you who are very keen and you want to start applying, you can start applying in month 2. Yeah. That's the good point to start applying. For those of you who want to just do everything and then apply, you can apply here for month 4 plus, month 4 onwards. Okay, so it all depends on you. So as you can see from the average time it takes for someone to move into regulatory from those who moved, it was 4 months. So that means those people, they were applying at this point here, month 2, and they were applying. So they're doing the work experience and applying at the same time. So like I said, it's all up to you in terms of when you finish, but I usually say at least do month 1 first, get that baseline knowledge, then you can, because obviously you're going to go for interview, you need to show that knowledge. So that's why I say do this first, get the knowledge, and then you can make a CV, start applying and doing the work assignment at the same time. So that's my advice I'd go. But in terms of the July cohort, because obviously the market will be quiet during summer, what I would say is go through everything, and then when it gets to September, then start applying straight away. 1st of September, you're going to start applying, start looking for jobs. So once everyone comes back from their summer holidays, jobs are going to start being posted online, and you're going to start applying from there. And I've been monitoring LinkedIn, and I've seen there's a lot of jobs there. Yeah, there's a lot of jobs available for regulatory. It's just the market has really increased over time. All right, so is there any questions that anyone has? Will we obtain a certificate at the end of the course? Yes, you will. Yeah, you will obtain a certificate. Actually, I think so I'll give you the link to Prabjot because she posted it on her LinkedIn. Now, what I always recommend people to do when they finish the course and you get that certificate, I highly recommend posting on LinkedIn because the people who post on LinkedIn, they move into regulatory. What happens is they post it, then they tag me, and then I will like it or comment, and basically all of my followers are going to see it. So my followers, they are basically hiring managers, HR people, recruiters, directors, and so on. The cheapest option is without installment. Yeah, that's it. So if you do it in one go, that's the cheapest. Installment, we're giving you a big discount here. But yeah, it's always going to be cheaper without the installment. How does the work experience element work? Okay, I'll tell you what to do. I'm just thinking, how do I explain this? So with the work experience, let me see if I got a slide. Slide. Okay. Okay, you can see this. This is the presentation, not the work experience, but it's better than staying another screen. So the work experience works like this. You're going to get a regulatory submission, and I'm going to give you this is the scenario, this is the task. And I'm going to give you the source documents, the regulatory guidelines, and then I'm going to ask you to complete the task. So for example, variations, I will give you all of the information about these changes that are being made. You're going to then classify all the variations, categorize them, find out the categories. You're going to then create the regulatory strategy. You're going to author the regulatory documents. You're going to fill in the form. So basically, you're doing it from start to finish. Yeah, that gives you an example of the level. And all of the work experience is all based on what I've done in real life. Yeah, everything is based on real regulatory work that I've done myself while working for GSK, while working for MSD, while working for all of these different organizations, and so on. So that's basically what I'm giving you. It's not made up scenarios, it's real things that you have to deal with in regulatory affairs. And to be honest with you, the work experience that I'm giving you over this time period will be more than someone who's got 1 to 2 years experience, because you're going to cover clinical trials, marketing authorization applications, variations, Europe, US, UK, all of the major markets as well. Yeah, so I'll give you. Let me send you some LinkedIn profiles. Okay, so I'll send you Prabjot. Yes, she went from quality. That's her one. Then we had, who else did we have? Federica. Yeah, Federica. Honestly, she surprised me. She did 2 weeks, start the course, and within 2 weeks, she's now moved into a regulatory consultancy. Yeah. So you can have a look at her one. This one. Although she didn't put the course on her profile. So some people, you've got to be wary. They do move into regulator, they do the course, but they don't always put it on their LinkedIn. So some people just like privacy, I suppose. So these ways. Then we got, who can we choose? Jasveer. Jasveer, she's actually on. Let me give you the links to the testimony videos. Those of you who are clinical pharmacists and wondering whether this is even possible, I will give you a link to somebody who worked in clinical pharmacy, and she moved into regulatory in 4 months. Yeah, where's the link? So I'll give you this one. So, hospital pharmacist to regulatory. Yeah, just click this link. Yes, look, that worked. Who else do we have? We've got Liviana, Fabjot as well. We have to still process the testimonials. I think I'm doing it bit by bit. I'm going through the testimonials and publishing them onto the website. So if I just copy this link, quality. So if you want to see some real examples, then this is the real examples. You've got Liviana. Liviana, she was academia. So for those of you in academia, let's see what she has to say. Yeah. I don't think is there anyone in here who has regulatory experience? Okay, no one from regulatory. For those who are regulatory, there's also examples of that as well. Someone says for Kenya market, you are yet to create the tailored course. So me being from Kenya, would you still recommend I take the course? Well, there's a few options to consider here. So you know the African markets, you need to understand the global regulatory landscape, and you need to understand what the health authorities are doing. Yeah, the health authorities, they make the rules, they make the regulations of companies, they follow, they follow whatever is going on. And what I've seen is when I was training the Middle East health authorities, is that the health authorities in Middle East, they wanted to start being more European-like, more US-like. They were trying to adopt these regulations. And for Africa, I know that they are also doing the same. So African countries, they're trying to be like Europe. Yeah. Now, by understanding European regulatory requirements and US regulatory requirements, you are ahead of all of the regulatory professionals working in the Kenya market. And also, if you enroll what I will do is if there's any future African market courses, I will give you access to that automatically. Yeah, so that's like a bonus basically that I'm giving. Yeah, the 3 months experience will be recognized. Yes, it will be recognized. I've sent you a few links of some people on LinkedIn moved into regulatory. You know those photos that I was sharing? Some of those. I shared you a few of those with you. But yes, it is recognized. So you could see in the slide right here, you know, this kind of says it all really. It's basically you got health authority there, you got large pharma, you've got generics company, this one, biotech, cosmetics, medical device, consultancies, you know, it's a whole industry they are recognizing this course. Would I get China, MPA, and CDE market specific tailored as well? You okay? All right, I'll tell you what. I'll do you something. What to do? If you enroll on the full course, then I'll give you the China one as a bonus. Yeah. So you could go with that one. So that will only be applicable for if you enroll onto July cohort. So if you enroll, then all you've got to do is once you enroll, just say, Rabi said in the webinar, she's giving me bonus for China MPA and CDE market. And then what I will do is that we keep a record for you. And basically, I will add that onto your list as a bonus. Normally, there's extra price for it, but I'm just giving it to you because you attended this webinar. Yeah, somebody with biomedical science did move into regulatory. So if you look here, it's this one here. See this one, Tan? Biomedical science. She was working as a pharmacy dispenser. She did biomedical science degree, and only within 1 month she moved into regulatory. And she worked with a regulatory. Then she moved to a medical device company. She started as an officer, and then she moved into manager level. So yes, we do get biomedical scientists moving to regulatory as well. Feel free to continue asking any questions that you have. I'm happy to answer. And also, if you have any fun fact questions, I'm happy to do those as well. You know, like just general questions about how's it like working regulatory and everything like that. What I will do is Lorraine will just put the. If you just put the enrollment link, course brochure, and the website again on the chat, Lorraine, that would be good. People with a nursing degree, I would say you're falling under the pharmacy area, which is healthcare. So we've had people with a pharmacy moving. We haven't had any nursing students, to be honest with you, but that doesn't mean that you can't move into regulatory, because I have had, you know, when I worked for MSD, there has had people, my colleagues in nursing field, they were working in regulatory or working in some a pharma role. So yes, it's definitely an option. Yes, if you want to take advantage of the discount, but you want to enroll for a later cohort, my advice would be to take the discount on either the 5 installment one or the 3 installment. That means you can secure your discount, but just start at a later date. Yeah. Yeah. So once you've enrolled onto this training program, Lorraine, you can see she's here in the meeting. She will take you through the next steps. So you're going to fill in a few forms. And then when it's near to the start day, what we're going to do is we're going to add you onto the group. We're going to, if you've purchased the book as well, we'll give you the book, and then get you started. But I would say since you've enrolled already, the best way to prepare, which is what I say to those who they've enrolled, but they just like, they really want to start learning, I always say, take a look at the free course. It's a free course. It gives you a little sample of what you're going to learn. So I would recommend doing that one, yeah? How does this course differ from medical writing? So regulatory medical writing is completely different to regulatory affairs, yeah? So in regulatory medical writing, what you're doing is you're working on certain modules of the CTD, and you've got the experts, they're the ones who are authoring, and then you have to then take the information from the clinical studies and so on, and basically summarize that information and present it within the dossiers and the submissions, right? Whereas when regulatory affairs, you actually not only authoring, you're creating the regulatory strategies, you're working with the health authorities, you are the ones creating the data, not just processing data, you are creating the data. You're creating the strategies, you're interacting with health authorities, so you're one of the key stakeholders. The other thing is regulatory affairs is not going to be replaced by AI. Okay, regulatory medical writing, there is a high risk of this role being taken over by AI. And the reason is because with regulatory medical writing, because it's mainly focused on authoring, this is something which the AI can do. But when you got regulatory affairs, where you're doing the stuff that I showed you from my experience, hold on here. This stuff cannot be replaced by AI, okay? Because you're creating strategies, you're interacting with health authorities, you're interacting with wider teams. It's too complex. There's too many moving parts, basically, here. Yeah, and you're interacting with health authorities, other team members, and all of these things. So I would say regulatory affairs is a lot more stable. It pays better. There's more flexibility. There's a lot more in the jobs market. You could go cosmetics, you could go pharma, you could go medical device, you could go veterinary. There's too many options. Yeah, the cohort will start on July the 13th. That's the start date for the cohort. So that is basically basically slightly over 2 weeks. So starting soon. Don't worry. It's going to be good. Yeah, so all the lectures in the course, they're going to be recorded, and then you get live support. So basically, as I mentioned, you will do the lecture recording. So I'll say to you, for example, we go back to the timeline. Where's the timeline? There it is, just grab the timeline here. Yeah. So this is the timeline. Now I'm going to say, okay, you're going to get access to all of these lectures here, right? And now all I'm going to say, the only deadline we're going to say is by month 1, after 1 month, this should all be done. Yeah. So everything's recorded and you get to do it and plan your work accordingly. So I'll give you an example. If you decide, okay, you know what, on week 2, I'm having a holiday for 1 week, that's fine. You can do that. It's flexible. But you just make sure that you do watch the extra lectures in week 1 and week 3 so that you cover that gap. So we try to make this course as flexible as possible for everyone. So this is all recorded, and then there's a group chat which is directly with me, and I'm there to answer any of your questions that you have. So some students, they ask really smart questions, like they'll watch the lectures and they'll have like a really good understanding of it, that they start asking really advanced questions. I really enjoy answering the questions, actually. When they get to this level of understanding, it's very exciting, actually. But yeah, you get all of your questions get answered as well. So you're enjoying the benefits of both. Oh, no worries, no worries. Like I said, I'm here to support you. And that's why I made these webinars, so that I can answer your questions and help you. Yeah, the new EU variation guideline will be covered. Okay, that will definitely be covered. Okay, and actually, to be honest with you, we've already added it onto the course. So the students in June, actually even the students in April, to be honest, they're doing the assignments with the new variation guideline. So one thing is we try to make sure everything's as up to date as possible. UK is a very interesting country because basically we left the Europe, and a lot of there was a divergence and all of these new regulatory procedures, including new MAA procedures and so on. So all of these differences, they will all be covered within the training program. Yeah, which includes the CTA submissions, how clinical trials applications are submitted in the UK versus Europe, which is different because Europe, you have one global market and loads of individual countries, whereas UK is just one country. But UK, what they did, I can give you a whole lecture about this. Basically, you know, when the UK left Europe, they said, okay, we are only one small market now because we're not part of Europe. How are we going to differentiate from all of these markets? How are we going to make companies want to do their clinical trials in UK? So what they did is they linked their approval through the health authorities with access to the patients directly, yeah, such as through NICE, NHS, and so on. So basically, so the companies will feel like, okay, we're going to get approval, and we're also going to get, into the medicine, into the actual supply chain. So this is only one thing the UK did. The UK did a lot more than this. But yeah, we cover a lot of this information in the program. And also, like I said, I've taken this material and also trained people in these topics too. IRP procedure is basically international recognition procedure. So that's basically if something is approved in a reference state, then the UK will do a targeted assessment or a light touch approach instead of a full assessment. And then therefore the customer, the license holder will benefit from a shorter timeline. Yeah, that's basically how that's the one we are discussing. How would you rate the job market in the winter period? Okay, so September, October, very busy. In November, I would say medium. Yeah, but December obviously it slows down. But actually, you know what happens in December? It gets very busy before Christmas because everyone's panicking. You need to hire someone for January. And then round about the Christmas period, it goes completely dead. And then January, maybe second week January, it'll start picking up dramatically again, because then when it's the new year, there's a lot of hiring as well that happens in the new year too. So those are the busy times. Busy times at these times of the year, yeah. And also in March. March is a good one. March and April. Another busy time of the year. So you want to make sure that you are prepared and ready for that rush, so you can ride the job market wave, as you call it. Really take advantage of this. Right, okay, well, I'll give you the link now to the course and also enrolling. I hope that I can welcome you to the course officially, and obviously that we can join me in the welcome call, and I can support you with your career. So I posted the link to enrolling and also the discounts and everything, so that if you copy and paste that and just save that somewhere for yourself, because when it comes to Sunday, that's the last day to use it. After that, that's finished. So make sure you take advantage of this one. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you enjoy. Oh, someone said, can I book a one-to-one before I register? Yes, you can. Let me see. My Friday looks very ugly, terrible. What to do is, I'm just thinking of the best way to do this. Can you just email me contact? So I don't want to ask you for your email in the chat. Yeah, so if you just email me this email address, and then what to do is Lorraine will arrange a call with me and you for tomorrow. Somehow we'll have to fit it in somehow, because I don't want you to lose out on the discount. That's why tomorrow is an important day. But yeah, for others who want to chat before, you can always, my other team member is called Eric. He's been in the industry for over 20 years, so you can also speak to him with the second link. The earliest cohort that we have is July. So that's the earliest one. That's the next one now. Okay, great. So I think you guys, you're a very engaging group, which I really like, because nobody wants to do presentation and basically there's no one replying or interacting. So thank you so much for being such an engaging group and asking all the questions and really taking advantage of this learning opportunity. So I look forward to welcoming you to the course. Thank you very much. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And for those of you based in the UK, I hope you survive the hot weather. Right. Bye everyone. Bye.